Everyone, welcome back to our Wednesday night Bible studies. If you want to join us live, they're 6 p.m. on Wednesday nights during this time of social distancing, where we're going over all of the Psalms. However, if you're just joining us on YouTube, welcome. Thanks for joining us on YouTube as well. Today we're going to look at Psalm 13. We've in the past looked at Psalm 27 and Psalm 110, and this week we're looking at Psalm 13. Now, Psalm 13 is a lament psalm. We talked about how there's different genres of psalms. So Psalm 27 was a trust psalm, and then Psalm 110 was a royal psalm. Psalm 13 here is a lament psalm. Now, there can be individual lament psalms and community lament psalms. So there's psalms that are just written by one person or for one person, and then community lament psalms, which are a whole community reaching out and asking for help, and they're often liturgical and to be said in a congregational church-like setting. And now Psalm 13 specifically is an individual lament. It is a Davidic psalm, so it means it was written to, by, or for David. For all intents and purposes, we're going to say it was written by David. We don't know if it was written by David. However, it's easiest just to say it was written by David. So David wrote this individual lament psalm. So David was asking for help for himself. Now, in many laments, most laments, there's kind of four key pieces to what makes a lament psalm a lament psalm. So the first one is a complaint. The psalmist asks or states what is wrong in the world. They're complaining about it. They're complaining about what's wrong in their life, what they're sad, mad, angry, upset about. Second thing is they ask God for help with what's happening. So it moves from the complaint to the ask. Then it moves to trust, saying that they're still going to trust God. Even though they're complaining, they're still going to trust God. And the fourth piece, the final piece, is that they're on the other side of this going to promise to praise God. I will still praise you on the other side of this. Now, laments are often about grief, but lament psalms can more broadly be defined as prayer for help, right? We most often use lament psalms in times of sickness or death, when we are grieving. But lament psalms can be a broader thing. Anytime you need help, a lament psalm is a great place to go. Now, psalmists can ask God for help in four areas. They lament usually about one of these four things. They're sad about something, they're mad about something, they want justice for something, or something to do with sin. So the sadness is great for grieving, right? I'm sad that this person died. I'm sad that I'm sick. I'm sad the world looks this way. I'm sad that COVID-19 is wreaking havoc in the world. Anger, which is what Psalm 13 is mostly like, is much more, I'm mad. I am upset that this is happening. I'm upset. It doesn't make sense that I have to do this, or I'm stuck doing this, or this person is powerful when they are such a sinner. Justice is asking for justice for things. I need justice in my life. This person has wronged me. Put justice on them, God. I have done all these great things, and yet I've not been rewarded for it. God, give me justice. And then sin could be a personal sin, could be like a community sin, asking for personal sin. God, I'm trapped in this sin. Help me to stop sinning. Psalm 13 itself is kind of the model lament psalm. When people teach on lament psalms like I'm doing right now, they most often turn to Psalm 13. And Psalm 13 itself is broken into three parallel sections that show the four elements of the lament. So the first section, the first two verses, the first stanza is the complaint. The second stanza, verses 3 and 4, is the ask, and then verse 5 and 6 are one stanza, one section, but verse 5 is the trust, and then verse 6 is the promise to praise. Now, it is a Davidic psalm. It begins Le David, like Psalm 27 and like Psalm 110. However, unlike Psalm 110, we don't hear about it in the New Testament in terms of Jesus saying when David said. So we don't know if David wrote this one, like I was saying earlier. I tend to believe he did. He probably did, in my opinion. But scholars disagree on that, and we don't know. But once again, it's easiest just to say when we're talking to each other that when David said this, or when the psalmist said this. And we don't know if David were to be the one to write it, or someone wrote it for David. We don't know when in David's life this was. So it's not one where we can pinpoint, oh, this was after he defeated Goliath, or this was after he messed up with Bathsheba. We don't know when this one was written. And like I said earlier, it's mostly an anger lament, but there's elements of sadness and justice that are thrown in there as well. The psalmist, or David, is clearly very angry with God, and we'll see that here. All right, so let's move into Psalm 13, verses 1 and 2, the complaint. And this is replete with synonymous parallelism, right? That's one of the markers of Hebrew poetry, is parallelism. And these first two verses here are replete with that synonymous parallelism. So they read, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me?" David here is clearly mad at God for not acting. He's mad that it seems that God has forgotten him, but then he's even more mad that God is actively avoiding him, at least in David's opinion. And how long must I wrestle with my thoughts? David's worried about how long he's going to be stuck with this sorrow, with this fear. And he's just wondering, is God ever going to come through for him? Then it goes on in verses 3 and 4. "Look on me and answer, Lord, my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall." This is a desperate plea from David. David is asking God to intervene, or he will die. My enemy will say, I've overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. David doesn't want to die, but he really doesn't want to see his enemies succeed, and he is being honest with God with his thoughts here. Then the psalm closes with verses 5 and 6, the trust and the promise to praise. "But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." Verse 5 here is the trust. Verse 6 is the promise to praise. "But I trust," right there, "in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation." Clearly trust and clearly rejoicing in God's salvation. David, even though he's been asking how long, even though he's worried about his enemies triumphing over him, even though he's angry at God, he still trusts God. "I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." Even though David started the psalm by asking, "How long, O Lord? How long will you forget me? How long will you hide from me?" he closes by saying, "The Lord has been good to me." You see, the psalm is simple and short, but I think it's incredibly valuable. It's a great tool to use when we are angry with God. First of all, it's okay to be angry with God. David, or whoever wrote this, was angry with God. We can express how we're really feeling. We can ask God these hard questions. How long? We can show some of our doubts. But it's important at the end to turn it back. That even though we were so upset in the beginning, in writing or praying or expressing our thoughts to God, or simply repeating the words of this psalm or a different lament psalm, it's important to turn it back to trust, to still have faith in the midst of doubt, to still have faith in the midst of pain, in the midst of anger, in the midst of sadness, to still show our trust and still show our praise to God. Yes, we can have faith in the midst of doubt. We can have trust in the midst of sadness. We can praise in the midst of grief. All right, that's all we have for Psalm 13 today. Thank you for joining us once again. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, ask me questions, whatever it is, all that engagement. Really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment or send me a message, however you want to get in contact with me, so I can let you know what you need to know about this psalm. Like I said, the reflection guide's linked in the description below, so be sure to take a look at that and reflect on the psalm on your own or in a group of people. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.